Today's video is writing a cold prompt essay. In this video, you're going to learn how to deal with the pressure of a timed essay, how to use the writing process on a timed essay, and how to prioritize and make decisions in order to do your best on, you guessed it, a timed essay. Did you guys know that some of the most inspired creations were the result of last minute thinking and a deadline, aka procrastination? Psychologists Angela Chu and Jim Choi divided procrastinators into two groups: active and passive. Passive procrastinators crumble under the pressure, and they often fail to produce anything at all by the deadline. We've all been there, right? Now, active procrastinators are those who seem to hyper focus when the clock is ticking down and they have to make decisions to get something done. In the world we live in today, and probably even more so in the future world that all of you are going to be a part of, deadlines will surprise you. They just sneak up on you sometimes. Flexibility and creativity under pressure are major skills that you need to develop for future careers. I'm saying all of this because it relates to testing, specifically writing an essay for tests. You don't know what the prompt will be. So, to prepare for these surprises and consequently to prepare yourself for a future filled with surprises, you need to focus on what you do know, be prepared by practicing for pressure, and learn to let a time crunch inspire your creativity and teach you to prioritize. So, after all that big picture and no doubt inspiring mumbo jumbo, let's talk about cold prompts. Okay, cold prompts are essays you have a time limit to complete and you don't know what it's going to be about before you sit down and the test begins. I want to walk you through a cold prompt and show you how to do your best when time is your enemy. Now, there are some things we already know about the ACT Aspire. For example, you're going to have 40 minutes to write a persuasive essay. You don't know what the prompt's going to be until you sit down for the actual test. There are some things you do know, like 40 minutes. You know you get to type. You know that they're going to use a 6-point rubric to assess your essay, and it's the same one that I used on your last essay, and I'm going to use again on your next one. Your prompt will give you some background information and then some yes or no statements, and it's going to give you a generic instructional statement. It's the same on every single one. Okay, now we're ready to begin. So what I'm going to do is open up the essay on Edulastic and narrate as I complete the assessment. This is all going to happen pretty quickly because I've got it at 6 times the normal speed. First thing I'm going to do is read the prompt. You should always read the prompt. Remember, an essay doesn't start with an introduction, it starts with an idea. So the first thing I'm writing down is my idea. I don't like to take time on essays like this thinking about which way I'm going to go with it. They've already given you a yes or no. I took the yes, I wrote it in my own words, and now I'm writing my outline. Notice I use the word intro there, and then I just put down some thoughts, my main idea, and I'm going to finish up with the word conclusion. Don't worry about putting anything else other than the words intro and conclusion. Trust me, it's not worth your time. Okay, so I've zoomed in. I don't know why I was zoomed out. Anyway, I'm starting with my body paragraphs. First one is kind of my main idea. He should see it the way the daycare sees it. And even though it looks like it's going really fast, I've already taken 6 minutes to work on this. The second paragraph, that's going to be what my opponents would say, or a counter idea. And then I'm going to finish up with a paragraph that kind of ties those together and ultimately shows that my argument is stronger than the counter argument. And I'm going to explain why. I'm not trying to roast them. I'm not trying to be personal or anything like that. I'm just explaining that the way I think is probably the best. Then I go back up to the top, and now I'm ready to write my introduction. Remember, introductions, you want your reader to be hooked. You want them to want to read the rest of what you've written. So I try to be, kind of playful. I play to my strengths, be silly, imaginative in my introduction. And then before I write my conclusion, I just take a quick glance through what I've got so far because I want my conclusion to kind of make sense and I don't want it to be too redundant. So I kind of take a high level view. I use a classic phrase and I write it all down. Now I'm done with step one and step two. I've written my first draft and I am ready to do the revising step. So I jump right in, starting the very first paragraph. What I'm doing is going sentence by sentence. If something doesn't sound right, if it doesn't sound the way I want it to, if I think somebody reading it might not fully understand what I mean, I'm going to change it. If I see myself using the same things over and over again, I'm going to try to mix that up. I'm checking my pronouns to make sure they make sense. And when I say he or him, they know if I'm talking about me or if I'm talking about JR. I'm also checking to make sure that the words I use are um, precise, the specific. Make sure that what I'm saying is what I actually want to say. You'll also notice that sometimes I take things away, sometimes I add things in, sometimes I change it and don't really like the way I changed it, so I change it again. Right there, I just took out an entire sentence, and I'm checking my conclusion now, adding a few precise words. And I'm going to go ahead and add a full thought here, 2 sentences, just to make sure everything makes sense. And you'll notice at the time I'm at 23 minutes. So I'm nearing, I'm just over the halfway mark. I've got plenty of time left, but I'm already on step 4. I'm editing, so I'm going from the bottom up. It's easier for me to find spelling errors when I go from the bottom up rather than reading it through. Sometimes my brain just fills in the blank when something's not really there. So I go from the bottom up, make some changes. I delete all of the brainstorming and outline stuff, and I'm ready to submit. I still had plenty of time left, and I absolutely could have gone back and added more thoughts. I could have elaborated. I could have changed everything. I still had 15 minutes left. So that's plenty of time. And where I took my time to think was on the revising step. That's the time when you want to think. You don't want to waste too much time in the early steps. Just make a decision and go with it because you've only got 40 minutes.